Hello everyone, welcome to the 225 Literary and Jury Charge. We're going to start off with some jury charge and I'm going to read this at 200. Ready? Members of the jury, of course, the fact that I have given you instructions concerning the issue of plaintiff's damages should not be interpreted in any way as an indication that I believe the plaintiff should or should not prevail. Your verdict must represent the considered judgment of each juror. In order to return a verdict, it is necessary that each juror agree thereto. In other words, your verdict must be unanimous. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate with a view to reaching an agreement if you can do so without violence to individual judgment. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but only after an impartial consideration of all of the evidence in the case with your fellow jurors. In the course of your deliberations, do not hesitate to re-examine your own views and change your opinions. If convicted, it is erroneous, but do not surrender your honest conviction as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for mere purpose of returning a verdict. Remember, at all times, you are not partisans. You are judges of the facts. Your sole interest is to seek the truth from the evidence in the case. Okay. I've got some medical. This is an article on bypass surgery after 80. Ready? Here we go. Coronary artery bypass graft, otherwise known as CABG surgery, is often not considered for elderly people with coronary disease because of their risk for serious complications. However, there may be few or no alternatives to CABG for patients whose angina symptoms cannot be controlled with medications. Even though the risk of CABG are high in the elderly, the outlook may be even worse if surgery is not performed. Researchers at Duke University, a major cardiac surgery center, recently reviewed the outcomes of all 86 patients aged 80 through 93 years who underwent CABG there from 2009 to 2011. Most of these operations were performed upon people who were desperately ill. 27% had had a heart attack in the last month, and 84% had angina at rest or during only mild activity. The majority of the patients were taken directly to the operating room from the coronary care unit or cardiac catheterization laboratory because they were too unstable to wait for CABG to be performed electively. These data indicate that most of these procedures were undertaken as last resort measures. Serious complications occurred in 29% of the patients and 14% died during hospitalization. In contrast, the mortality from CABG surgery in younger patients is under 2% at many medical centers. However, 86% of these very elderly patients survived the surgery and quality of life improved dramatically. In general, these patients were too sick to be at home before surgery, but 66 of them, or 89% of the 74 survivors, went directly home from the hospital, while the other 8 survivors went to nursing facilities. Those at home were able to care for most of their own personal needs. Women were more likely than men to survive the operation and to have good outcomes. Okay. I've got a jury charge selection for you. Okay, ready? Members of the jury, as stated earlier, it is your duty to determine the facts, and in so doing, you must consider only the evidence I have admitted in the case. The term evidence includes the sworn testimony of the witnesses and the exhibits admitted in the record. Remember that any statements, objections, or arguments made by the lawyers are not evidence in the case. The function of the lawyers is to point out those things that are most significant or most helpful to their side of the case, and in so doing to call your attention to certain facts or inferences that might otherwise escape your notice. In the final analysis, however, it is your own recollection and interpretation of the evidence that controls in the case. What the lawyers say is not binding upon you. So while you should consider only the evidence in the case, You are permitted to draw such reasonable inferences from the testimony and exhibits as you feel are justified in light of common experience. In other words, you may make deductions and reach conclusions which reason and common sense lead you to draw from the facts which have been established by the testimony and evidence in the case. Okay. I've got an article here. This focuses on court reporting students. It's called Dream Board, and it's all on goals. Okay, tips and goals. Ready? Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, you will what you imagine, and at last you create what you will, said George Bernard Shaw. I remember my first day of court reporting school. We were lucky enough to have an inspirational court reporter instructor stop in to our theory class and to talk to us for a while. I believe it changed the way I pursued my goal in school and any other goal that I had achieved or will achieve for the rest of my life. I hope I can share that inspiration with you right now. Among the many things she talked about, one was a tool in achieving your goals called a dream board. May also be called a vision or image board. It involves making a board or picture with images to help inspire you and visualize your life after you achieve your goal, whatever your goal may be. In this case, it is becoming a court reporter. I will share with you now some of my experience in using her advice and how it helped me to play a part in achieving my dream of being a CSR or a court reporter, and some ideas on how to make your own dream board. First off, you need to think of why you are in school and what you want out of this career. Do you want security? Do you want independence? Do you want a better future for your kids? Do you want fancy cars, nice clothes, power and prestige, vacations, no boss? Whatever the vision is, be aware of what you are going for, even if it is stuff. There is always a feeling we are looking to feel underneath that stuff that drives us to our goal. And even if it is not stuff and it is all about feelings, there is always something that we can find externally to represent that internal feeling. So take your time and think about what feeling that car or that outfit means to you or is going to give to you when you get it. Maybe it means that you're arrived. Maybe it means that you aren't the old person you used to be. Maybe it means that you are totally independent. This will be personal and different for everyone. Whatever your dream is of making it, think it up and find some pictures of what that would look like to you on the outside. Take pictures from the internet, catalogs, magazines, anywhere you can find something that represents your future to you. Obviously, we can't find a picture of inner peace, so you are going to focus on things that can be represented by a photograph. But on the other hand, maybe inner peace would be a picture of you on the beach in Tahiti. I don't know. You can make a collage of all pictures or an orderly poster board, whichever makes you happy. All you simply do is glue the pictures on however you'd like and place the board somewhere you will see it all the time. If you don't want a large poster board where everyone can see it, then make up a smaller paper and place it somewhere you can look at it all the time. Put it in the bathroom or closet so you check it out when you are getting ready for school. Feel free to put yourself in it somewhere. Go to the car dealership and have them take a picture of you in your dream car. Paste your head onto pictures of clothing you want to wear. Do anything that makes it more real to you. I have even talked to some reporters who once took a book, a photography book, and filled it with pictures of their dreams. You are to create your dream board to represent how your life is going to be after you are out of school and working. What are you going to wear to work? What are you going to drive? How is your hair going to look? Your shoes, your Steno bag, courthouse or deposition conference room. These are all the things to take into consideration. The more you can visualize it, the more you are almost there. You have to believe it first before anyone else can believe it for you. Where are you going to live? Where are you going to vacation? What kind of office are you going to have to do your editing? What kind of desk will you have? Maybe your dream Steno machine, a college that you want your kids to go to, concerts you will be going to, hobbies that you will take up. Anything that motivates you toward your goal, put it on your board. The only thing is that everything has to be positive, working towards something good, not letting away or getting away from something bad. You aren't to put any pictures of anything negative on your board. As Stephen Covey said, live out your imagination, not your history. And that's Covey. Focus on who you want to become, not who you are today or were yesterday. If you don't know who you want to become, then take some time and think about it. Knowing what you want is an important step in achieving a goal. How do you know when you get there if you don't know where you want to go? Spend some time visualizing yourself and what your life would be like as a working reporter. Little details make all the difference in the world. What are you going to be doing while you drive into work? Are you going to wear those famous pink fuzzy slippers when you edit? Maybe take your work to Starbucks on a Saturday. What will your kids be doing while you edit? Your significant other. Again, the more real you can make your life or your future life, the more you are visualizing, and the visualizing will pay off. Imagine yourself being the ringleader of that deposition. See yourself reading back to a jury with ease and confidence. Feel the feeling of getting your first paycheck and buying yourself something you've always wanted. This is not the time for the bog of reality to bring us down off our cloud. We will deal with that when the time comes. No visions of paying the IRS or student loans. Now is the time for positive visions only. That is what it will take to get you to your goal, which is the whole point here. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Here are 9 steps to success that I would like to share with you. Number 1, be proactive. Lucky people put themselves in a position to win by continually taking action in pursuit of their goals. Number 2, have a dynamic, positive attitude. It has been proven that we attract what we think about most. People who get the breaks believe in themselves and their abilities. To become a magnet for exceptional achievements, maintain a confident outlook and concentrate on success. Number 3, possess a burning desire. Aside from being positive, lucky people are passionate about achieving their goals. Number 4, be prepared. Earl Nightingale said it superbly. If you are not prepared for your opportunity when it comes, the opportunity will only make you look silly. Lucky people are mentally, physically, and emotionally ready to perform at their maximum. Whatever activity they are engaged in, you'll find them reading, practicing, and picking their brains of successful people in that field. Number 5, display incredible persistence and a long-term perspective. In any profession, the few who refuse to quit when success is nowhere on the horizon are the ones who eventually achieve the impossible. Number 6, pay your dues. Lucky individuals are willing to start small and work their way up. Number 7, create crystal clear objectives. Clarity is power. Lucky people know what they want to accomplish and can visualize the end result in vivid detail. Number 8, demonstrate flexibility. Let's fact it. No matter how well prepared you are, you can never anticipate all the setbacks and detours you'll encounter. Lucky people monitor their progress and make adjustments when appropriate. Number 9, be a risk taker. Phenomenal success is usually reserved for those who will venture into unknown territory. With risk comes reward. In closing, I can relate that sometimes it is challenging to see that far off into the distance when you are stressed out by reality and working as hard as you can to achieve your goal. Take some time for yourself to invest in creating your future. Don't let your future happen to you by accident. Make it what you want. You are in control of your choices and actions that will carry you to your goals. Every choice that you make today changes your tomorrow. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it, said W.H. Murray. I love that article. Okay, got a few more minutes. Okay, got some jury charge again. Here we go. That case, Your Honor, as I know the court is aware, did address the issue of credibility of the witnesses, and that case is different from this case in that it appears that the witnesses in that case were going out of their way to tell the truth. They weren't trying to do anything other than help by saying what they knew, and there was some talk that they might very well be mistaken. Then there was a fingerprint from an unknown person, and the court, after consideration, and I am mindful that most of that case usually dealt with the jury selection and some issues, but I think of the motions as not being designed to test the credibility of witnesses, and I have viewed that as a jury duty. But I would submit to the court, at some point witnesses can be so bad that they are not worthy of belief, and I don't believe that's the people's fault. It is the witnesses' fault. This court has had the opportunity to see Mr. Ray and Mr. Salazar, and I know you don't need reminding on some of the things that have happened in this trial. Perhaps the court has seen more bizarre testimony. In my experience, I haven't. I haven't seen people lie to a jury, get caught, lie again, admit that they hurt themselves in grand jury, admit that they hurt themselves at the trial, and it has just been an amazement. Maybe I am naive. Maybe I haven't done enough trials in the 30 years I have been practicing. I have done hundreds though. But if a reasonable trier of fact can base the case on their testimony, then I should lose this motion. The problem is having to do so with my client. There is no physical evidence once his confession is suppressed, and I am mindful that the court did suppress a statement that, to all intents and purposes, is tantamount to a confession. But if we look at the evidence that this jury has been permitted to hear, there is no physical evidence to corroborate the statements of Mr. Ray and Mr. Salazar. There are no letters that my client wrote or that my client is mentioned in. There is no DNA evidence where my client has bloody clothes or things of that nature. I am mindful that the prosecution could say, well, Ray and Salazar have answered that by saying that those clothes were disposed of. There is no fingerprint of my client in the car, and we all know that you can be in a motor vehicle and not leave fingerprints. But when we go through all the evidence, in order for the jury to convict my client, they have to rely on the testimony of Mr. Ray and Mr. Salazar. The prosecution, I am sure, will point to the how did they know certain things, such as how did they know that the victim had been stabbed in the head? How did they know whether there were phones at the gas station? Things of this nature. But when we look at everything that has been presented, it certainly seems that the testimony of Mr. Ray and Mr. Salazar is not worthy of belief to the trier of fact. I would like to make a motion that was based upon the lack of evidence, and the standard, of course, being evidence of what we are talking about here. As to Mr. Hugo, the only evidence against him is the fact that he may have been in the car when the car returned to the house. There is nothing in the letters about him. Nobody ever talks about him. He may have been at the funeral, not the funeral, but the evening gathering or the mass on the 1-year anniversary. He may have been there. Okay, that concludes our jury charge and literary for the 225 class. Have a great day.